The image of that memory stuck with me throughout the whole program, just feeling like one day this is gonna happen for real. Hey beautiful people, how you guys doing? Hope you guys are doing fabulous. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Michelle, and this video is a follow-up to the Q&A that I had about my PhD program. I got quite a few questions. Some of them were kind of repeats, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through some of the stuff that I've talked about in my past videos, and hopefully I'm able to answer all of you guys' questions. One of the biggest questions that keeps coming up is how long did it take me to get through all of my schooling? So I'm gonna go ahead and backtrack and start by talking about my educational career. I got my iced coffee, so that means we're gonna be here for a while. So I graduated high school at 17, and that's because my birthday just happens to be later in the year. And I attended a 4-year university. I earned a Bachelor's of Arts in sociology and in business administrative studies with an emphasis in marketing. So that was my undergraduate degree. A lot of people asked me, how did I know what I wanted to study? I knew that I wanted to work with people, specifically children, and I knew that I wanted to work in psychology. My mother is a psychologist and she also holds a doctorate. So growing up, that was the path that I always knew I wanted to take. While I was doing my undergraduate degree, I was studying for the GRE, and the GRE is a test that you need in order to get into graduate school. Now the requirements as far as what kind of score you need to earn change and differ from university to university, and I'm sure the test has changed probably a million times since I've taken it, but it is a rigorous test that you definitely have to study for. So I did all of my studying the summer before I graduated from my 4-year university. The studying was intense and it was a sacrifice because I was giving up my entire summer to study, but that was the only way that I could go straight into a university after I graduated. I took the GRE twice. I took it once and then I wanted to improve my score, so I took it again. When I was applying to graduate programs, I knew that I wanted to work as a school psychologist, so I looked for programs in educational psychology, and the program that I chose was a 3-year program, so 2 years for the master's degree and 1 year for the credential. The credential is what allows me to be able to work in an educational school setting. So if you held a master's in psychology or in a different area, you would still need to do that 1 year for the school psychology credential to work within the schools. Now I'm gonna pause right here because I know a lot of people asked about what degree is required to be able to work as a school psychologist, and these are the degrees that are needed. You need the master's degree and you need the credential, and that's what you need to work as a school psychologist. The doctorate is not mandatory, it's not necessary. Most school psychologists don't hold doctorates. It's really a personal choice. And yes, there is a pay increase when you have a doctorate, but that solely depends on who you work for, what district you work in. Someone else also asked what happens if you move from state to state within the US? Are you still able to practice? And the answer is maybe. So when I was in my master's program, at the end of the program, we take a test that allows us to be nationally certified. And if you get a passing score on that test, then you're able to practice anywhere in the US. But of course, there are certain states that probably will still ask you to take their own test, and that's something that you really probably won't have a problem passing as long as you study for it. During the last year of my master's program, which is that internship year, I was applying to doctorate programs. At first, I wasn't sure if I wanted to earn the PhD, the EDD, the PsyD. There are different doctorates that you can earn. You don't have to earn a PhD. A PhD is a Doctor of Philosophy, and that is a research degree, and it's the route that I chose because at the time I just felt like it was the most comprehensive degree and it was recognized worldwide in case I wanted to teach or practice somewhere other than the United States. I have a video where I go in depth about the interview process and about the requirements when you're already within the program, so I'm not going to talk about that here. I will link those below and you can watch them. But the program that I chose was a PhD in education with an emphasis in school psychology. So we took one education course, one psychology course for 2 years, and the last year was a year where we worked on our dissertation, and the topic of my dissertation was school psychologists working with students who have bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder in children is an interest of mine, and I was curious to know how comfortable, prepared, and knowledgeable school psychologists were when working with these particular students, so that was my research topic. I did a quantitative dissertation. It took me about 1.5 years to complete it. So now I want to get into answering the questions that you guys had. One of the big questions that kept coming up was, how was I able to balance YouTube, my family, my friends, my job, my relationships, and do the program? This was a challenge for me. Now, it's something that when I thought about the question, I couldn't quite figure out how I did it. The answer was I prioritized. I decided what was going to be first, what was going to be second, what was going to be third on my list of priorities daily. So if I had a paper that was due, but one of my friends had a birthday party, I had to say, okay, well, am I going to go to the party or am I going to write the paper? Well, birthdays only come around once a year. I may have to stay up super, super late that day and get that paper done. Or I'm not going to be able to go to this birthday. I have to do this paper. I just had to juggle those choices as they came. For those of you guys who watched my vlog channel and stuck with me the whole way, you saw how challenging that was. I had to say no to a lot of things, and I had to remember that this was going to end. So I needed to do what I needed to do to finish it, and some of these other things would always be there. But just as you guys know, that when you have so many things on your plate, something is gonna suffer. So if you just got into a new relationship and that's really important to you, then you may be in that program for a lot longer than you want to be in there for, and that has to be okay with you as well. For me personally, my first 2 years in a program, I was in a relationship, but it was a long distance relationship. So I didn't have the pressures of having to see that person all the time, and it gave me the freedom to focus. But I do have a very active social life, so I did try to make the events that I could make, and I did like to socialize because I need balance. I'll go crazy if I'm just writing all the time or if I'm just working all the time. I have to have balance, but it really just came down to prioritizing. The next question was, do I think it's difficult to be able to be respected and to also be a YouTube personality? I think it can be difficult depending on your personality. So for me, it's not difficult because the content that I give on YouTube is not gonna clash with my professional life. However, I do have to be mindful about things that I post. That boils down to your own judgment, but no, I don't find that difficult at all. I actually find it really rewarding because I'm immersed in the culture, so I know what's going on, and that helps me to be able to connect with the kids that I work with and to understand all the things that they're also being exposed to. Another question I was asked is, did I lack confidence? This is something that I didn't expect to come up, but it did come up. At first, going into the program, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know how hard it was going to be, if I was really prepared for it, but I felt confident enough to know that whatever it was, if they accepted me into the program, they felt that I could do the work. But when I actually started meeting all of the other candidates and getting into some of the coursework, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this. And I did start to lack confidence, especially my first semester when I was getting a lot of feedback from my professors and they were like ripping my papers apart. I did start doubting myself and wondering if whether or not I was capable of being able to earn the degree. One thing that they did that I thought was really cute at the beginning of the program was they had a ceremony with you and your family where you walked up and they gave you a little pin and they called you Dr. whatever your name was. So when I walked up, they're like, yes, Dr. Michelle, here's your pin. And it felt really good just hearing that from the very beginning and knowing that this is something that you're capable of doing. The image of that memory stuck with me throughout the whole program, just feeling like one day this is gonna happen for real. I also received a ton of encouragement from my mom who pushed me and didn't allow me to give up. And of course, I'm a Christian. I prayed a lot, a lot for God to help me when I started to doubt myself, and I was able to keep pushing. Another question came up about how did I put myself first in beauty, health. The person who asked said that when they're in school, they just really let go of themselves and just focus on school. Now that in particular is something that I'm really passionate about. Growing up in a single parent home, my mom was like superwoman, but she always believed in balance. She worked really hard, worked 2 jobs, very well educated, but she was also a giving person. She also dresses really nice. She takes care of herself, and she instilled in my sister and I that that is just as important. You need to take care of yourself in all ways, because how I look can affect my mood a lot. If I go 5 days just looking like a bum, it's gonna start to impact the way that I actually feel. So I'm not saying go to class looking like a dime piece. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is don't let yourself go. And the one area I didn't pay enough attention to was my diet, my eating habits. And during those years is when I put on a lot of weight. So I believe that just because you're a supermodel doesn't mean you can't be smart. And just because you're super geeky, it doesn't mean that you can't be fly. Like, you can have both. I'm a huge believer in you don't have to pick. I got a question asking if I want to start my own practice one day. I don't know. know. I'm thinking about it. It's something that I can definitely see myself doing when I'm much older. I'm not interested in doing that right now. I love working for the schools. If I did start my own practice, I think it would be very specialized, but I'm not quite sure yet. I'm also kind of pondering on how I can bridge my psychology background with entertainment. If there's some way that I could kind of mesh the two together, that's something that I'm definitely interested in one day. And the last question that I have is, what was my best and worst moments in the program? During my first semester of the program, I had just finished my first class with this one professor, and as I was walking out, she stopped me and basically said to me, I heard about you, your writing sucks, I heard you didn't go to the writing program like you told you to. Started saying all this stuff to me, which wasn't true because I did go to the program, and later found out that she had actually mixed me up with someone else. I was so hurt. I went home, I cried. I told my mom that I wanted to quit, that it was too hard, that I couldn't do it. I mean, she really crushed me and I wanted to give up. My mom told me that that was not an option, that I had to finish, and she had me reflect on why I was doing it in the first place, which for one, of course, for myself, because it was a personal goal and it's something that I knew that I always wanted to get. But secondly, for you guys, for every Black girl who someone told her she couldn't do something, I had to finish because I had to prove them wrong. I had to finish because I had to show someone else what's possible. I had to finish so my 6-year-old niece could say, Nana did it, Auntie did it, I can do it. So it wasn't just about me, and that's why I had to keep going, even though my self-confidence was shot and I didn't want to finish it. And it's really unfortunate that that particular professor said those words to me and to lots of other students, because things like that can impact you. But the good thing is, enough people were affected by her words that she no longer works there. But the best moment was after I defended and my professor opened the door, shook my hand and said, congratulations, Dr. Michelle. Oh! That was the best moment of my life. So there you have it, my loves. Those were the answers to the questions that I received on the last video. Please watch the previous 2 videos. I have one video that I recorded when I was still in the program that has a lot of information, and I have the second video that goes more in depth with the interview process and what you actually need to do in order to complete the doctorate. So if there are any additional questions that I haven't answered yet, then please leave a comment below and I'll be sure to do so. Just remember, you guys, that education is the one thing that no one can ever take away from you. If you're considering it, do it. It's an investment in yourself. There are so many excuses that you can give to yourself, but time passes by no matter what, whether you're doing something or you're not doing something. There were women in the program who were married with 5 children. There were also people in the program that were huge directors over tons of people and had a family, and they were still able to balance. This is a degree that you do for you. It's going to take a lot of tenacity, a lot of hard work, a lot of prayer, and a lot of support from your family, but it's only for a period of time. It will end, and it's one of the greatest gifts that you can ever give yourselves. Please share this video with anyone that you think would benefit from it, and if you have any other questions, let me know. Big kisses to you all. Mwah! Thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so on your way out. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace, love,